Right, here we go. So why data? It seems a bit of a weird topic for this conversation, but hopefully I'm going to explain in the next 15 minutes why it's not. And I'll start by explaining who I am and why I'm here. Um, as you can tell from the video, I've been around a while and I've seen a lot of things, and I've formed, for better or for worse, some pretty strong opinions. And one of those opinions is that the data model is broken. And again, you might say, well, who cares? But the world runs on data. Everything we talk about here is impacted or affected by data, whether that is data privacy, data security, data integrity. All of what we're talking about here, and all of the the AI in particular that we were just talking about, depends upon the quality and the integrity of data. And data is everything. Data can be your own personal stuff. It can be financial data. It can be healthcare data. It can be absolutely anything. It can be climate data. And the way that we today manage it, store it, control it is fundamentally flawed. And that's why I'm here, because I'm trying to change that. And what I'm going to do in the next few minutes is try and explain a little bit about why it's important in the context of what we're talking about here, what the issues are, and what distributed data can do about it. So let me just jump into it, right? The world, as I said, lives on data, and we're not going to stop generating data. We produce more data than we've ever produced before, and we will continue to do so. The problem lies in how we store it and manage it. And here's the fascinating statistic for this. We've been using the same data management model. And data management means how you store it, how you move it around, how you manage quality, how you manage all the rules and privacy and so forth. It's a gamut of things, but it basically says, how do we store, use, and use our data in the best possible way? The model we use today has been the same for 40 years. And the model basically says, we capture all of this data and we store it centrally, and we store it as dumb data. And that has incredible inefficiencies with it. And let me start with the obvious one. That's data centers. Microsoft is going to spend $80 billion this year on new data centers. And the problem is that data centers are A, inefficient, B, massively insecure, but C, they have a material impact on the environment. The power consumption of data centers in the US currently runs at about 4% of total power consumption, and is expected with AI to run to 10%. The contribution to greenhouse gases goes from 2 to 4% in the next 5 years. And that's material. That means something. And the problem with data centers is that what we're unable to do is figure out what to do with the data and how to manage it. So we just build new data centers. But I'm going to ask you to look around you. I'm going to ask you to think about your office or your home or wherever you work, and think about all of the devices that are there. Just start with your smartphones. Right? The average smartphone has 30% spare capacity. The average smartphone has 20 to 30% also has 20 to 30% wasted space. That is space, plus the servers, the smart fridges, the smart TVs, the gateways, all of that infrastructure has spare data storage capacity. We don't use it today. We just build new data centers, and it's massively inefficient. We don't live in a centralized world. We live in a world where everything is decentralized. There is more compute power in an hour's worth of iPhone shipments than there is in most supercomputers. Think about that. We don't use it effectively, and we certainly don't store data effectively. So what distributed data can do is manage all of the data that we have across all of the available devices. And we can manage dynamically how many copies of each individual record we need, and where should they be stored. So we have the capacity to build into distributed data management the ability to know when to delete it. And that is one of the fundamental issues that we have today, because we don't know when to delete stuff, so we store it. we keep it, and we build new data centers. So just on the environmental impact, data and the way we manage it is material and important, and currently right now very damaging. But let me shift a little bit. Let's talk about data. Data in the context of it being hazardous to your health and your well-being and potentially life-threatening. There are many places in the world where ownership or possession of data or generation or communication of data, be it text, video, email, can be potentially very dangerous. And let's say that you have certain information on your phone and you find yourself in a situation where your phone falls into the wrong hands. That phone is not difficult to hack. And once it's hacked, all of that data that is potentially hazardous to you is available to the people you don't want to have it. And the fundamental flaw here is that we're protecting what we call the perimeter. We protect the phone, we protect the data storage, we protect the networks. We don't protect the data. When you start thinking about distributed data, you start to think about how you can secure and control every single individual file that you have on that phone. Which means that if that phone falls into the wrong hands, that data is still secure. Now, it doesn't necessarily solve a potentially threatening situation, but it does prevent people knowing in detail what you have on your phone and what you're doing with it. Similarly with intercepting of emails and text. That data remains secure and controlled at an individual file level, individual text level, when you're using distributed data management. Let's make it even more personal, right? Your own personal data. When you go online and you post and you store photos and whatever it is in the cloud, when you accept the terms and conditions of that provider, whoever it is, be it Facebook or X or whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to use, your best case is that the provider of that service is limiting how they will use that data. And they will actually adhere to the terms that they claim to support. Worst case is they ignore it. And Google gets a fine at some point, which is water off a duck's back. So the model remains the same. The model is that when you're online today, you don't have online privacy. And I'm sure you all know stories of people who have posted things or said things or done things many years ago, which ended up online and have come back to haunt them. The problem lies in how that data is managed. There is no security and control. Once you post that data online, it's out there. And the ability to secure it today is extremely limited. So a new model like distributed data management and how I described the way we secure data applies in this case. So every photo on your phone, every photo you post on the cloud can be individually secured and controlled, and you as the photographer or the owner have total control over who can see it. You can make them pay for it, and you can enforce that in the context of a photo or a video. You can enforce it in the context of online education. One of the huge challenges online education has is piracy. And if you want to make if you want to support an online education and the safety and the security of that, then distributed data is a way that you can do that. And so with distributed data, when you go online and you click, that piece of data can be given to you for you to decide what happens to it. You can decide that you can share it and you want to get paid for it. You can decide that you never want to share it and you don't have to. The technology is there to do this with the distributed data management system. The problem is the will. What's the business model that supports that? Centralized data, companies that support centralized data, be they cloud, be they AI, make a lot of money out of it. Facebook and others not to pick on Facebook all the time, but make a lot of money out of your data. So how do we get them to share it? How do we get them to give you back control in a way that is beneficial for everybody? It's not a technology problem, it's a business problem. Just one more example in that content. Napster 20 odd years ago killed the music industry. And what they did was they basically proved that online digital scarcity was no longer a thing. If you launched and sold or issued or distributed a video, for example, online, Napster could steal it and share it illegally, as it turns out, but it didn't change the model. And so the music industry has suffered for 20 years, and musicians, any artist, any creator, any educator, anybody who does research, is at the mercy of a system on a centralized management system that does not allow you to control who has access to your content, your intellectual property, your data online, and therefore you have no ability to prevent people from stealing it, and you have no real ability to actually monetize it, which may be the way you make a living. And by the way, cryptocurrency and tokens are not the answer to this, but distributed data is. Because as with the text, I can create, the model can create, or the system can create a unique digital file that encompasses a single video. And the ownership of that file can be governed. The rights associated with that file are attached to the file. And you've now created basically the equivalent of physical ownership online. This is distributed data. It changes the model. Let me finish with AI. I can't not talk about AI. And I get the AI thing, but what AI has done is bring to light, or not bring to light, it's reinforced the problems that have been there forever. And that is, it's not just about data security, it's about data integrity. Can you trust it? Where did it come from? Who's had access to it? Who's been able to edit it? What's the context? None of our data management systems do that today effectively. And so we run AI on highly suspect data. We put garbage in, garbage out on steroids, and you can see the results all around you. And so, in summary, data is what drives all of this. We've been living in a world of the same model of data management for 40 years, and we have the ability to change it. And it's important. It's not a technology problem, it's a business problem, it's a problem of will. In some cases, a problem of politics. But hopefully, I've given you enough to think about why it's important in the context of what these really important topics we're talking about today. Data equality is fundamental to equality everywhere else. Thank you.